Hello, hackers, and welcome back. This week we are going to do research on those digital communities that you're interested in. First off, I want to say that one of the reasons that I gave everyone so much freedom on group work is I wanted to see how your groups operated like small digital communities. I wanted to see how your group chose to interact rather than me telling you exactly how to interact. Now, some of your groups may be more active than others. The ones that have joined the chat program Discord have been very active and in fact have created their own group from several different people from several different classes. They have also renamed their group to the Baby Unicorns, and one of the people gave everyone baby unicorn names, which is pretty fascinating when it comes to thinking about the pseudonym that you use, right? Do you change the pseudonyms or your username when you go into different groups? Now, I think there have probably been similar very interactive group work happening in Snapchat, but I just can see references to that in the discussion board. But these groups that you're doing, this group work you're doing, is very much like the kind of interaction that a digital community would have. So what we're going to do is go out and research those digital communities, research the interaction between the members, but we're going to have a plan first. And that plan will have to first start with us making sure that we have a good digital community. Now, I gave several of you feedback, or I should have given all of you feedback on your communities, but we want to make sure that our digital communities aren't just digital networks. And one way that we're going to do that is you're going to ask one or more members in your group to give you feedback on those three communities that you're thinking about writing about. And your group members should be able to tell you if it's a digital community and not just a digital network. Now, it's a little bit confusing because digital communities meet on or use digital networks to interact. But I'll give you an example. So, one of the Facebook groups I'm in is a cyberpunk group. Now, Facebook itself isn't a community, it's a network. But that cyberpunk group within Facebook is definitely a digital community. And it is because there's a lot of interaction. Now, I apologize for the language up front, but I'm choosing this group because there was a very interesting post, and that post tells us something about that digital community. But this cyberpunk group is actually, the title of it is Cyberpunk as Fuck. And as you can see, I'm going to explain this for those listening to the podcast and not watching the video. But as you can see, this is one of the posts that was pinned by the moderator. And I'm going to go ahead and read this. This is a cyberpunk space, a place to discuss how technology is facilitating or impeding our mega capitalist dystopia from a punk mindset, which means anti-wealth, anti-fascist, anti-white patriarchy. Nazism and its extremely prolific recruiters are a virulent issue on this garbage website and must be dealt with like a virus. If you're going to discuss something related to Nazism, either drench it in a whole lot of nuanced context, you'll be removed. Nazi punks, fuck off. So what we can see here is somebody with power in this digital community, the moderator, or at least one moderator, is making a very strong statement about who belongs and who doesn't belong in this community. Now, I don't remember seeing any of these Nazi posts. I do see posts from people all over the political spectrum in this board, but I guess that some people who were trying to spread Nazi ideology had gotten in and posted a lot of stuff, and the moderator did what moderators do and kicked them out and said that they weren't allowed in this space. So if I were to do research on this digital community, I might focus in on that particular thing. I could ask the moderator if he would like to do an interview about the problem of Nazis posting in the group. I could also ask that moderator how long the group had been around, when he started moderating, those type of questions. And kind of get to how the group values certain things. Now, in this post, there are very explicit values being laid out. And like I said, there's also an idea of who belongs in the group and who doesn't belong in the group based on those values. So this is just one post, and it's one piece of evidence, one piece of raw data that I could take and collect in my research to possibly use for later in my blog. But all we're doing here, and this is just from observation, right? I am just scrolling through and observing what has already been done in this group. But there are other ways that we could do research. We could interview, like I mentioned, important people in the group. We could also do a survey and come up with good questions that have a short list of answers and do a survey. Now, surveys work best on large groups of people. And you have to make sure your questions are very precise, because you don't want people to answer it a million different ways. You want them to answer it in 3 or 4 different ways so that you could look at the data. But what we're going to do first off is make sure that your digital community is a community and not a network by asking a couple people in your group. And then we're going to start planning how you might, or what questions you might ask during an interview, what you might look to observe for in the digital community, or what you might do in a survey. So this is the research portion that we're going to be doing for Wednesday. But alongside that, we're also going to make sure that we're continuing our work on the word cloud. Because while we're doing research on this digital community for our report blog, we're also decoding the genre of an informational report on a digital community. So we're doing those two things at the same time. Now, I sent out an announcement last week that kind of put the word cloud exercise into steps. It didn't necessarily tell you exactly how your group should do it, but it kind of laid out the steps so that we don't get lost. Some of you have already jumped in and made your own word clouds. That's great, but what we really want to do is have a discussion with the group so that it could be a group word cloud. We're going to figure out which common codes out of all those listed in the group are the most important. And the way to do this really is to look at examples given. Not all of you gave examples with your common codes, but if you can pick out the most important ones out of your list and give examples from the reports, it will really help your group be able to decide which are the most important. So one way you could do that is ask yourself, well, which one of these common codes was used in my report and was very informative? Why was it informative? Was it in all 3 reports? Maybe it was in 2 out of the 3. If it's in more than one report, chances are that it's pretty important. But we're not going to create the word cloud yet. We're just going to decide as a group what are the most important common informational report codes. That way, we can go on and build that word cloud next week. Remember, these discussions on the importance should be done as a group, but you can use any tools that you want to. You might try using SurveyMonkey to survey the group, where they could just click on the most important or rate them or something like that. Using SurveyMonkey would also give you a little bit of experience in how to do that survey software. It's really easy, just point and click stuff, but then you might decide you want to use it when you're researching a digital community. So for Wednesday, you're making sure you have a good digital community, not a network, continue to work on the word cloud. Moving on to step 2. We're going to read several ways to research, primary research, and then you're going to post a plan. In that plan, you're going to tell me what is the digital community that you're going to do research on, and what questions do you want to ask, and what do you want to observe. On Saturday, I want everybody to read a few of your classmates' research plans. We're going to put those in the discussion board on Blackboard so everyone can see them. But you're just going to read a few of your classmates' research plans, and you're going to ask yourself if there are explanations about who they will observe, interview, or survey in the community, and or the questions, survey or interview questions that they write down. Does that inspire you to add to your research plan? And so I hope so, and then you'll be able to just reply to your own post in the research plan discussion board and add something to it inspired by one of your colleagues' research plans. And lastly this week, you're going to make sure and pin down that digital community, because by Saturday, you want to do 2 of the 3 types of primary research on that digital community. That means you need to observe, interview, and or survey. Now, most people observe and interview, right? Those are the easiest to do. But some people find that, there is something that they latch onto in an interview or an observation, and they want to see if there are a lot of people in the group who feel that way. And that's where a survey can be really important. And I have had students do great surveys and get amazing amounts of feedback from the digital community. So just like we read in the reports, there are a couple ways we can research digital communities. We can be kind of like a lurker and just observe and not really interact, or we can jump in there and we can interact and become a part of the community if you aren't already one. Now, it might be kind of hard to do a lot of interacting before Saturday, but one thing you might do if you're new to this community, or even if you're not, is get a hold of the moderators and just ask them straight out. Say you're doing research on this community for your class and you would love to hear from them or love to be able to either survey or interview people in the community. Most communities are very receptive to this. And if any of the communities are worried about names or even pseudonyms or anything like that, you could just tell them that you will make them anonymous and to preserve their identity. A lot of research does that, especially with communities that are more vulnerable or have a healthy respect for their own privacy. So you're going to do that research by Saturday, and you're going to post the raw data in the raw data discussion board. What is raw data? Raw data is just the information that you gather before you make sense of it and figure out what it means. That post that I had up, that's raw data. But my explanation of it was analyzing and explaining it. You don't have to do any of the analyzing or explaining. We just need the raw data. That could be posts that you think are very important that you could just quote. That could also be data on your survey or answers to the interview questions that you do. But by Saturday, I want you to do 2 out of the 3 types of primary research and post your raw data. That way we can start working with it next week to develop your informational report blog that will inform your audience about this digital community. All right, hackers. Well, I hope you have a good week of research. And as always, if you have any problems or concerns, you can reach me by email, phone, chat. Just get a hold of me if you're stuck in any part of the process, because I want to make sure that you're able to move along and that you're able to help your group members move along as well, or those small digital communities that you're a part of. All right, I hope to see everybody online.